Oh, dude, that went live quick as shit. Episode 96, This Life in Tech. I'm Jason.
And I'm Dan. I just now got the message saying that we were live online.
There you go, man. The magic of the internet.
I was hoping that turning off that light would be better, but it did not do anything at all. It made it worse.
Well, man, you got all that snow out there reflecting light in. It's hard to control it.
Oh, well.
See, I got my overhead light, and then I have a special lamp to fill the shadows.
Yeah.
Like, watch. See? Too dark. Yeah. And then you get the reflections.
Well, today I'm doing this from the phone. I keep forgetting to bring in my camera to where I can do a green screen anyway.
Good thing I went to film school.
Yeah.
That's true. I did, man.
I know. You're saying.
That was one of my favorite jobs, man, on films projects. Because in film school, everybody had to make a student film, and your crew was made up of your classmates. So you all had to rotate through the different primary roles. Dude, I loved being a fucking gaffer and a grip. Setting up the lighting, filling shadows. Oh, dude, look at that.
Who is that?
Well, no, I can barely see you.
I don't recognize this person. You seem to be missing something. Maybe that's why. Maybe that's what it is. I don't see those stupid ass AirPods in your ear. I couldn't recognize it without it.
I'm not even on for 20 seconds. I'm already getting grief about something.
So did you think by being late you would avoid it?
No, not at all. That's actually a very valid point. So
hey, I'm glad you joined though, man.
How are you guys doing this morning?
Chilling like villains.
Cool.
I'm doing great, man. It's snowing like hell there for Dan. It's raining like hell here for me. What do you got? A little of both?
We had the rain yesterday. We're 38 today. We'll be 55 and 61 for the next 2 days.
Oh, wow. Actually, you got a little warm.
Yeah.
We were supposed to get snow today. It just didn't get cold enough last night.
What is the temp there? 40s?
Let's see. 35. Ooh. It's close.
It's close.
It'll warm up.
Yeah, it'll warm up.
It'll warm up for you.
Yeah.
Dude, I got this great fanless ceramic convection heater. Dude, this thing's the best thing of all time, man. You can program it, set its thermometer, remote controlled. I set that guy to like 65, leave it run all night. I come in, it's nice and warm in here, man. I'm so glad I did this high-end installation. Otherwise, because before I got that, I had like a little floor one that barely could heat my toes. And dude, I was like, man, I'm not going to make it. I'm not going to make it over the winter. that thing was $90, man, at Home Depot. That's
what I have in my office at work.
Oh my God, man. It's fantastic.
Oh, the AC.
It's bladeless. So it's super quiet, man. I can have it on when I'm teaching. It's on right now. And it oscillates and it just keeps everything nice and warm, dude. I don't need it that warm, like 68. I'm good to go.
A little toasty. You're good.
So that's how I'm doing.
I bought mine from Amazon, not Home Depot. I could have probably saved $10.
I did, by the way. I bought one off Amazon that was like nice and chic. It was a wall plate that you could hang, and it was super like stylistic and futuristic. Somehow it got lost. What do you think happened? I hate DHL as a shipping facility. They're worse than UPS. By far, dude, I will take USPS every time.
I can't say that I've had good luck with DHL either. But then again, I don't really care who Amazon uses. But it sounds like if you did DHL, then it wasn't Amazon Prime.
I don't remember, man. It's been so long. And because it's lost, they don't want to do a refund.
What? Are you serious?
Well, you can't get Amazon involved because it's a third-party seller through their platform, right? It's not stocked by Amazon.
Definitely not Amazon Prime then.
Okay. So, well, I'll say this. Mrs. Pittman's on the task. She deals with that stuff, not me. And she's much better at it.
She'll take care of it.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I got a shipment coming today. I got a nice new lapel mic.
Oh, that's what we're getting my son for Christmas.
Yeah. I got a nice wireless, goes over Bluetooth lapel mic. So
you're gonna get rid of the mic for the standalone mic for your for the show.
it's right here.
Yeah, I know. Is that where you're getting the lapel mic for?
No, well, I'll announce it here for the people that are viewing, and I've put it out on Twitter. In 2 weeks, December 1st, I'm doing a major speaking event in Maryland, and I proposed the idea to the host that we should stream it because it's free. It's a free event. It's an IEEE Young Professionals event, and I'm gonna be talking about some of my ideas around synthetic intelligence. And so I thought, well, let's make it fun. I'll print up some stickers and some T-shirts and sell them. Fundraising for my institute, and screw it, let's stream it. And then the problem became, okay, if I'm going to stream it, I know where we're doing this at, and the audio equipment there blows. So I think it was like $50 for a decent wireless single lapel mic. I'm going to give it a go.
Yeah, why not?
And there's some classes I teach. I don't know if you teach online ever, Ken, or like when you did, Dan. When I teach, I like standing up and moving around.
I just connect the Bluetooth to the computer, so I didn't have to worry about it.
Yeah. So, sometimes, like even during this podcast, when we run more than 30, 40 minutes, I want to get up. And so at least with a standing desk, I can do that now, but I'm still tethered because I want to hear you, right? With the lapel mic, I'll use it for classes where people don't use audio, like the undergraduate classes. Nobody ever uses a mic. So I don't need to be bound to it. I can get up and walk around, which I could do now with this guy. I just think the lapel mic's going to give me a better quality. I'm interested in seeing. Let's call it a little self-experiment.
That's valid. You just gotta hope that it actually works with the equipment that's there for the conference.
Oh, no, I'm taking all my own. I'm not leaving this to anybody else's hands.
So you just don't trust Karima. That's what it is.
I trust her to introduce me, and I have another. I'm using the Logitech C922, the high-def 1080p camera right now, and I bought a second one, and I already had a tripod for it, so I'm going to take that, and all she has to do after she introduces me is sit down in the front row and tripod that camera back and forth, monitor live chat.
That's going to be challenging for her. I'm not sure her skills are up for it.
We'll see.
Every time I see her, she's tripping over something.
That's true.
She's tripping a coordinated person.
So we'll see, man.
Brilliant lady, but
I love working with her, man. Love working with her.
Good. So, Ken, where are your stupid ass AirPods at?
Oh, they're in the car. I just didn't feel like getting them out.
You didn't feel like getting them out? You didn't feel like getting them out, or you didn't feel like taking shit for getting them out?
Oh, no, I just didn't feel like taking them out. I knew Dan was going to give me grief, so.
So basically what you're saying is you put the same amount of effort getting into your AirPods as what you did into instilling a democracy into this country.
Wow. There we go.
See, Ken, you should, in my opinion, defend yourself here and ask Dan why he has a tie that matches the last Turkish bath you were in.
Does it? I don't know. I've never been into a Turkish bath.
But
I've never been into a Turkish bath, so I have no idea what they would look like.
I don't either.
Hey, I read an article last night. They asked Connor, "Did you?" Oh, by the way, we were talking about his whiskey a few YouTube sessions ago, and apparently he's sold out, and they're mass producing some to get it out by Christmas. And so they asked him, would you ever sit down and have a drink with Mayweather or what's the other guy named Nurmagomedov or something?
Khabib Nurmagomedov.
Yeah.
We tried to do it with him already.
And he said, I wouldn't have a drink with either one of them. But, he's been talking up his whiskey, and it made me laugh because you guys were talking about it a few weeks ago.
I've tasted his whiskey.
It's not. I remember you saying it was not.
It's garbage. But then again, it's not unexpected because he's basically, if I had to guess, having to buy whatever name brand whiskey that he was able to get a hold of that didn't meet the quality of that, and it's probably too young.
Both of
So,
those are true,
yeah.
factually true. It's I believe Bushmills that's manufacturing it for him, and I believe right now it's at best like a year old.
Yeah. Okay. So I mean, all those things make sense to me, and it
Mhm.
won't. But this is, but you know, when you anytime you're starting a whiskey, I mean, for the most part, what you'll start doing is you'll be making your own, and then you'll take a 5 year from someone else, add your year to it, so that way you can say you have a 5 year, but that 1 year winds up really changing the flavor. So you keep producing yours, and eventually you'll have your 5 year, and which is still a very young whiskey in my opinion. You really want a minimum of 7 years. That's 7 years.
That's right, man.
His career will be over by then.
And maybe his fighting career, but I think he's going to go into. I mean, that's why he's doing all these things. He's promoting.
Yeah.
You know, if I had to guess, and De La Hoya is correct, I believe you will start seeing that UFC and I think they're not going to be able. It's going to be closer to boxing, and you'll have more promoters, and you'll have a UFC belt, you'll have a whatever belt, you'll have a whatever belt, and so when they start announcing fights, it'll be like just like in boxing, the IBF, the WCB, you name it.
Well, right, and you can see the foundation for that being laid already with not only the free agency and people going to Bellator, but the trade of Mighty Mouse for Ben Askren.
True. And I think you're going to see more of that. So Connor will more than likely move to more promotions. He's already kind of started it. And he's branching out. I mean, he's doing what you should do, which is diversification of revenue. So, and they're all in completely different industries. Alcohol, his clothing line, fight game, who knows what else he's got his hands in it. But I think it's not him. I believe it's doing this. He's got a really, really good advisor.
I hope that dude's getting paid.
Oh, I'm sure he is. There's no doubt.
Hey, man, if he ever needs some technology assistance, I got a passport. I've been to Dublin. I know my way around a little bit.
That automatically makes you qualified to do this.
Well, being a technologist qualifies me to do it. I just have the bonus of having an active passport and having been to Dublin.
All true statements. You know, I'm pretty sure we could hook him up. You know, not a problem at all. Speaking of that, his boy decided, and actually all of Habib's boys that were part of the melee all chose to not show up to the Nevada Athletic Commission hearing.
That's right.
And so they suspended all of them. So, but what's his name is like, I'm not fighting in the U.S. right now anyway. So what do I care?
Yeah.
Because he fights for Bellator, and he'll just go, all right, that's fine. I'll just fight outside the U.S. It's not like Bellator fights inside the U.S.
Right. Well, and so technically they could fight in the U.S., just not in Nevada. But traditionally, other athletic commissions don't run afoul of each other.
Yeah, they have reciprocity.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, speaking of which, man, this is an interesting question for you guys. I don't know that I've ever asked anybody this. So I know, Dan, this is true. You worked for the federal government. Ken, have you ever thought about, as a technologist, maybe even as an educator, because certainly some agencies have their own education system within themselves. Have you ever thought about, oh man, I should go work for the government?
I think Ken would be a perfect government worker.
Oh, fudge. What?
Well, so I have another question as a follow-up to that. Because if you've thought about that, have you ever thought about working for organized crime? Is anybody going to admit to that on camera?
Question.
So actually, there was a really I read an article a few years ago about a guy who worked for a private company in Mexico. He essentially set up cell phone towers, like knew the whole system. He got kidnapped by one of the cartels, and they basically told him, "Look, it's either this or die." So he ended up like setting up a wireless cell phone network out in the jungles, and they could always talk. And he had set up an encrypted like channels and all this stuff. And he was doing the interview under cloak and undercover and stuff. But I don't know if I'd consider working for the government unless it was like CIA or FBI. That's it.
All right. So how about organized crime?
I do DOD.
How about organized crime?
No, I like my freedom. I don't know. Maybe I just have a moral thing against it. But you're obviously setting me up for something because I see Dan's eating grin on there, and then I see you smiling as you put coffee in your mouth. So you might.
I've thought about both. I don't know that I've thought about both equally as much or in equal terms, but I've been entertained at least the ideation of what both would entail.
I think organized crime would probably be more fun, but and make more money depending on the situation. I mean, if you look at the Russian mob, for example, they used to go from enforcement. Now they're doing everything online, very technology oriented. Malware, spam, and people still fall for that stuff. So,
wait, are you talking about the government or organized crime? Because
I'm talking about. I'm talking about organized crime.
Oh, okay, it's hard. It's so hard to figure out which one these days.
Well, sure. I mean, so let's assume you're a software engineer, and what you're engineering is some form of malware. Let's just broadly classify it that. You have no idea how that's being weaponized in either case. You have no idea what its target is, or how it's going to be leveraged for its actual operational activity. How is it materially different?
Well, they probably tell themselves that in the government that they're preventing terrorism, child pornography, which is the standard 2 alarm bells they call every time. That would be my guess.
Well, you can separate them by going to the mens rea. One, you're doing at least something where you can't control whether or not they're going to weaponize it or not, but you know that you're at least what the intended mission is. Whereas if you're doing something for organized crime, you absolutely know you're doing something for people who are doing something illegal. I mean, so there's a big distinction for me.
Sure. Well, and so to be specific, I think you guys might agree then, but let's find out if we do agree on this. That if I work for, let's be specific and precise here, the U.S. government, and I create malware that gets weaponized, it could be used to harm other human beings. But that's not necessarily harm for the sake of harm. Whereas we have to guess that in the organized criminal world, there's only one outcome: harm.
Right. And it comes back down to this case, amongst legal precedent, which is, fruit from the poisonous tree. Anything you do, whether it's good or not for organized crime, it's still poison.
Sure.
Right, because it's organized crime.
Yeah. Right. But again, we have to kind of decide, what is organized crime? If you are in a particular country and you are supporting the rebels, that particular country would consider what you're doing illegal, but perhaps it's not a good regime. Like, let's say it's North Korea, where many around the world say there's a lot of human rights violations that are going on. So it's really how you decide to draw that line. Where things that we know, different organized crime, the drug cartel, no one is saying that they're doing anything good. So if you choose to go work there, you are absolutely doing something that is considered in today's world bad.
Well, right. Said differently, the ends cannot justify the means.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, Al Capone fed an enormous amount of people during the Depression through his soup kitchens, but that was all generated through illegal activity.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not gonna say that feeding people's bad, but just because it's good doesn't make the prior act good, right?
True. And this is, a funny aspect to that. If I was living in Al Capone's neighborhood, I just didn't see anything.
That's probably a wise decision, man.
But there's a different reason. You don't have crime in the neighborhood that Al Capone lives in.
That's right.
That is true.
Neighbors take care of neighbors, right? Hey, what he chooses to do,
he's an adult.
That's right.
It's his choice.
It doesn't mean that I will utilize my talents or resources to assist.
Well, that's why I think we can probably then agree sometimes the best way to win a game is to simply choose not to play it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely true.
I agree. So I grew up around some of these characters.
I will never go and work or do any type of work with the federal government again.
Well, and that's what's interesting, Ken, about what you said, because I think I've said before, Dan, at least to you, when I think about it, I ultimately conclude once again that I just value the sovereignty of my own consciousness too much.
Yeah.
Well, that's why you also are hearing about a lot of guys or employees, not just guys, but employees from the NSA leaving the last few years. You know, they had a brain drain just due to the fact that they didn't believe in the mission anymore. And it may have gotten beyond what they felt morality wise, what they could do. They're unconscious.
Well, sure. And so, you know, being transparent, at least for myself, when I think about it, what I'm thinking about it is the allure of doing something greater than myself, right? Of being part of a mission or a vision that is something in the world. You know what I mean? And that's compelling, man. That's part of our wiring naturally. We want to do that as human beings, at least psychologically. But man, you know what else is alluring?
Money,
thoughts. And I don't mean thoughts. I mean THOT, thoughts. All kinds of crazy stuff is alluring.
Yeah. But you're not going to get at least one of those money by doing work with the government.
That's true.
That's true. That's why private industry is so appealing.
Desire. But I still go back, you know, Ken would be a really good government worker.
Come on, man. Whatever. I am a I will say this. I am a rule follower. I you know, it's black and white to me. I have a hard time with the gray area.
Well, it's very natural to want to coexist with the status quo. It is incredibly difficult. I did it this morning, and man, I really thought twice about opening my mouth, but I did. And I did because that's what I do, I suppose. I don't really understand why. I've spent a lot of time trying to think about it. And it's not that I couldn't help myself. It's that I chose to say what I said. And I really did believe what I said. I wasn't just being a shit stirrer. I wouldn't do that just for the sake of it.
Yeah.
Me either.
Yeah. I mean, amongst friends, sure, because now you're just taking the piss, right? But in a serious conversation, I'm not going to represent something that I don't sincerely think is true. But man,
I won't follow rules for rules' sake. If it doesn't
right.
make sense, I'm not going to do it. And people who want to throw the rule book at me, well, it's really funny. Those that like to throw the rule book do not like it being thrown back at them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
those are the kind of people that get caught sucking a dick in a dirty bathroom.
I don't know anything about that. But,
well, I don't either. Just what I read in the news, of course, right? But that's the type of psychology that does that, right? You project out what you fear the most.
So, you know, when they go to do these kind of things, I just go, okay, no problem. You know, I go by the adage, play the player, not the game. I don't care what the game is. I'm going to win. It's only a matter of time.
Well, and I think that's a material difference too between, we've talked about this many times, man, leadership and managing. Leadership is about common truth. And that takes buy-in, that takes conversation, it takes consensus, and it takes being competent. Managing a process, I'm not going to say it is not miserable, but it's certainly the easier of the two.
Oh, yeah, indeed. Very much so.
Do you take attendance in your classes, Ken?
No, but I'm starting next semester. Do you?
Why? Why do you not, and why are you starting? And then I'll answer your question.
Well, I just feel like oh, we lost somebody.
He's probably talking to somebody in his office. Keep going.
Oh, okay. I didn't because I feel like these guys are adults, 18. They want to pay X amount of dollars to come to school here, and they want to skip class, knock themselves out. But I will tell you this semester has been really, really bad about people missing class. And I feel like if I'm going to put the effort into it, because all the classes I teach, I like dearly love. I put a lot of work into my lectures, put a lot of work into, and you know what? You and I and Dan, if he was here, come from industry. So it's a little bit different for us because we know what we're talking about. My classes aren't theoretical. So when like this semester, I just had a lot of people missing class and they're not, even doing me the courtesy of emailing me and letting me know. So I decided, I'm going to stick with the Lipscomb rules. You miss 6 classes, you're out. So I've been really lightweight about that this semester and I'm not doing it anymore.
Out as in it's an automatic F for the class?
Yeah.
Why 6?
I don't know. Maybe just an arbitrary number. I truthfully, that's a good question.
Is that the university's rule? Or?
Let's see, we have a 16-week semester. So essentially 6 is not a lot.
Out of 16 weeks?
You're saying it's not a lot? You cut out for a second there.
Oh, yeah. You said it's at 16 classes or?
16 weeks. So let's say it's like 3 classes per week for 50 minutes. So what is that? 48 sessions?
Okay, 40. Oh, yeah. So 6?
Yeah, 48 sessions.
Right. You're talking about roughly an eighth of the total sessions.
Yeah. But, and honestly, we were talking about this in a faculty meeting the other day. I can't remember what it was like for us when we were in school. I didn't skip class because I knew how important it was. I was the first one in a family to graduate college. So I had a little bit of burden on my shoulders. So I never skipped class.
But 6 classes is still 12.5%. That's a lot.
Yeah.
For me, it was 3. And that was a school policy in undergrad.
Oh,
three absences, let's say unexcused absences.
Unexcused.
Was an automatic F.
Okay. But like Dan said, 12% to me, there's 16 weeks, you miss 1 a week for 6 weeks. That's a lot of work in there.
Well, attendance has been demonstrated time and time again to be a factor in academic performance.
Yeah.
100% agreed. And if I was still teaching, I'd say if you miss more than 1 class, because everything I say is so important, you better be there to hear it. So if you miss more than 1, you're just done.
Now, I'll tell you what we had that I missed that I've never seen since, and I think it's kind of fallen out of favor, is contract grading. You guys ever have that?
Mm-mm.
So the idea was first class, you come and get the syllabus and a handout next to it. And in that handout, it outlined all the work you would have to do at a minimum to earn that letter grade, provided that you score well on those assignments you select. And so right from the first day, you could sign that form. And if I want to schedule my life such that I'm going to earn a B in this class, then here's the work that I need to schedule out for the next 16 weeks. And that's it.
I've never heard of that. Sorry, Dan.
Yeah, it's just interesting. I've never heard of that either.
Loved it, man.
It feels like you're setting yourself up to do the bare minimum. I'm just from my perspective.
Okay.
Maybe.
But I mean, like a B. I mean, I know. I heard 2 students talking in the hallway the other day. Like, dude, I don't think I'm going to pass accounting. He goes, man, C's get degrees. And I have to say, I thought about it. I'm like, that's not a bad point because you know what? Every job I've been offered, no one's ever asked my GPA.
Well, what I liked about it is it allowed me to have agency. It allowed me to choose what I wanted to do.
Now, did that include attendance, though? So your contract would say, okay, to earn a B in 48 classes that I'm going to have this semester, you have to be there. Okay, so it's purely a
workload
exam type thing.
Mm-hmm. Now, look, you could contractually agree to do the work for an A, but still fail all the assignments. There's no guarantee that you're getting that grade. It's that's what you're contractually saying you want to do.
Well, we're going through IT accreditation right now, and ABET's asking for rubrics. Are you familiar with rubrics? So they say, okay, so an assignment in policies and procedures class I teach, you have a change management request come in. In order for you to really get that change management, the student has to do this much. Yeah, and that's a certain percentage. And then the next one and the next one and the next one. So there's basically 4. But they're asking us to start doing all of that. It's a lot of work.
The ABET paperwork is enormous, man.
It is, but I actually kind of like it because there's really no hemming and hawing on, if I just do 1 or 2 of the things in change management, this is what I know I'm going to get.
Like most paperwork, and so this is by temperament for me. Like most paperwork, if there were a way to do it along the way that was efficient, I'd be fine with it. The fact is, the way we do it, it all is done after the class concludes. And dude, I'm off to the next thing. I ain't got time for this.
Yep. Also true.
So I struggle with it.
Dan, do you think you're ever going to go back to teaching?
I don't think so.
You had your fill of it?
I would say it's not so much that I had the fill of it. I don't find any more enjoyment in it, mainly because the students that are there are not, I did not get the impression they were really looking to learn.
Sure.
But it's more so I would do research. Like I would work for a university, but I would prefer to do research. I would prefer to make guest lectures, but not, maybe it would be different if it was at a bigger university, had a TA, things like that.
Sure.
I am not someone that is good at administrivia. I've never been someone that could do that. I absolutely abhor administrivia, and that means grading as well. So
yeah.
That's why I just, even when I did, and I just don't have the time today, but when I would teach, I really didn't have written assignments. I had labs, and you either got to the conclusion or you didn't. And I would make it very easy. Depending on what step along the way you were, I knew what your grade would be. So I just did, I abhor administrivia, and grading is part of that. Like I don't even do my own expense reports at this point. But when I used to have to do my expense reports, I would wait because you get 90 days. I would float almost 90 days worth of expense reports because I hate doing expense reports. It's administrivia. So it's just not my personality to do that.
Well, and those things are only increasing as higher ed becomes more data driven.
Yeah. But if I was, doing research, no problem. Teaching a workshop like on innovation, intellectual property development, how you solve problems, running hackathons, things like that. Yeah, no issues in doing any of those kind of things because you're really trying to teach someone a different way how to think.
Sure.
And that's something that is much different. Even with hackathons, getting them to do product development, and helping them get funding, which I think more and more universities are doing now. That's something I could do.
See, and I think this is. Go ahead, Ken.
Oh no, I didn't say anything. Go ahead.
I was going to say this is a fundamental difference between leading and managing. So, like, here's a crazy curveball for you. I'm like Dan. I do not like paperwork, and I really don't like paperwork for the sake of paperwork. But one of the funnest things of doing in research for me, writing the protocols, which is extremely rigorous and type A and document driven. But I view that as leading, not managing. I'm not. Right. I'm designing a document. I'm not filling a document out. There's a material difference.
I like creating a document. I like creating the document.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not. I just can't. I almost will refuse to do paperwork for paperwork's sake. I'll give it to someone else. I mean, the funny thing is that, and Jason was there at Silent Circle. This guy who didn't really have. He was only administratively managing me. Wanted me to do a weekly summary of all activities,
A TPS report.
basically. So I gave it to the lowest level person in the organization to manage and also to send out. So I never even sent it. I was just CC'd on it. That's how little I thought of that request. So I'm not going to do it. I gave it to someone else. Hey, so-and-so, JFT, Friday by 5 p.m., make sure you get a status from everyone else, 3 bullets, and send it to this person. CC me on it.
And that's the kind of bull crap that we deal with in the world.
And this person asked me, do you want to review it ahead of time? Nope.
And do you know one person on Dan's team that person never sent an email to asking for status?
Yeah.
This guy.
Because he knew you would do your job. That's the whole point of those stupid reports. It's for the people that won't do their work.
Well, they didn't have to, because Skippy would always just tell this person what was going on. And so
yeah, I delegated too.
Yeah, the JFT went to the other JFT to get the status of what was going on to my direct reports, and that was fun. I didn't care. Bottom line is, you gave me a silly task with a silly reasoning for doing it that you didn't understand in the first place of anything that I was doing, all because you made a really, really stupid comment. I told you what you could do with your comment because you couldn't fire me because I only reported to you administratively. So I didn't care.
That's like advising for me. I hate advising. Like, we just got done with it 2 weeks, and they make us put up on our door 20-minute scheduling. And obviously, if I have a class, I'm not advising, I'll mark it out, or, here's my office hours. But these kids, I had 2 show up yesterday who waited till a week after advising, and then they complain classes are full. And then I told them, on top of this, they're like, what do I take? And we have a 4-year PDF for every major in the College of Computing and Technology. And we say, look, you for the first couple of semesters for a Christian college, you take these Bible classes in this order. You take intro programming, whatnot. Do what?
I thought you start with Genesis.
Yeah.
We did. We started with Old Testament, then New Testament, then ethics, and then Apocrypha.
That's pretty much it.
You end with Revelation, right? Isn't that how the Bible works? You start with Genesis, end with Revelation?
Well, we ended with Revelation, and then you could optionally take another course in ethics, and then after that, you could move on to take apocryphal studies.
Yeah.
But like they don't want to follow the guidelines, and then they get to their senior year and they need a freshman level course, and it's full. And then they take the one spot for a freshman and they get in. And I'm like, if you would have just listened to me 4 years ago, we wouldn't be in this situation. You knew exactly what you needed to take the day you met me before your freshman year over the summer at Advance to sign up for classes, and you chose not to listen to me.
Slight correction for you. Had they taken control of their own future, they wouldn't be in that situation. It doesn't matter what you tell somebody like that. All they're doing is shifting the responsibility of making a good decision from themselves to you. And by advising them, you've accepted it.
And parents call me, and I had to tell a parent last year, well, your child changed their major this many times. Look, 5 times. And you're mad because they have 170 hours to graduate, but they don't have the classes they need to finish that degree. That's not my fault. That is not my fault.
Maybe you failed to communicate this properly with the student.
Yeah, maybe you used a form instead of a meeting.
We meet. Okay. That's exactly the reason we have advising.
Well, look, man, actually, and I think I've said this before, I like advising students. I like talking to people, but I don't like this silly BS. I don't like this silly BS at all. Don't try to shift that responsibility to me, man. But this is exactly what Dan was talking about. And you see this. I don't know that it's totally normalized, but it seems like it is to some degree. that there's an expectation that if I do A, B, and C, the result will be this. So all I need to do is show up and do at a minimum A, B, and C.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the student's perspective.
Sure.
And that's why they try to alleviate themselves of the responsibility of their own freedom.
What I have noticed is that, especially undergrads, actually all students, they all become lawyers the last couple of weeks of the class.
Well said. Well said.
That's very true.
Now they're that. I'm like, hey, well, can't I just get an extension? No. You knew when the deadline was. And for me, it was I'm so lenient because this is what I say to all of them. The due date is the 10th, but I don't consider it late until I go to look at it. So you're gambling. If I don't look at it until the 20th, then you turn it in on the 19th, well, it's not late.
Right.
Because I didn't look at it yet, but you're gambling as a win. Some of them I might look at the very next morning at 9 a.m. Others I may not have time until this date. Your choice. But understand, when I go to look for it and you don't have it, it's late. And I don't grade anything that's late. And I don't care what it is. Now, I tended to always get some complaints. Sure. And I just got tired because I just got tired of the bureaucracy as well. The other part of it was, I'm teaching a class, and as part of that, you have to, I bring up there are, morals and ethics when it comes to encryption that you have to talk about. It's in the news. So I bring up Edward Snowden, and I bring up General Alexander, and I talk about why neither one of them are right. They're both extremely wrong in terms of their views as to what they did in terms of collection of data. But the government is also wrong in trying to force a private company like Apple and Google to put in backdoors. And every director of NSA has said, do not do that. So I get into that, and they all go to complain that because some of them may work part-time there, and I go, so what? You have to understand both sides. And then so the funny part, and what I had them do, because I did make them all write a paper, no more than 3 pages. First, I had them all say, okay, I gave them all the data. And I said, all right, do you side with the government or do you decide with Apple, as an example, for phone encryption? So I have them raise their hands. I write them all down and I say, okay, great. Your job now is to write a paper for the opposite view as to why you would.
That's actually not a bad idea.
Because you have, because I sent it all of them. This is, and they complain about this. But here's the if you're the NSA's side of the house, if you give this up, you're potentially giving up or giving access to the enemy to see everything that's going on, and you may be compromising a national interest. So you could, you're going to be putting those kind of people in harm's way.
Yeah.
But now you say you want to side with Apple on a different side of the house, which means you're siding with the FBI. Go look a mother or father in the eye and tell them that there's nothing you're willing to do to save their child.
Well, and this is a critical part of learning how to engage rhetoric. In rhetorical writing class, we had to write, let's call it 16 essays, 8 topics. You got to pick whatever you wanted, and you had to write a persuasive essay, a minimum, from each perspective for each topic. And it was simply an exercise in learning how to engage an idea.
Yeah. And so the students all kind of changed a little bit. The idea, as I said, no one is right, no one is wrong. There's no right answer into this. Because no matter what you choose, you have to sympathize with the other side, and you have to know that you're causing harm to the other side no matter what. And there's no good answer. Really, the idea is to have this debate. Yeah. And people forget, especially these young kids, we are in a world economy. There's no such thing as just what we're doing here in the United States. Right? Anyway, I've got to bail, guys. I gotta
go too.
So catch you all later.
See you next week, Dan.
Yep. Later, Dan.
Bye.
Well, and here, there actually is a good answer to his point, and that is to immediately stop encrypting everything.
Make everything public.
Stop encrypting. It's in my opinion, and I sincerely think this, I've said this to Dan before, I really think it's a bad idea. A really, really, really catastrophically bad idea.
To encrypt?
To not only encrypt, but to continue to argue for the proliferation of encryption.
There was a Netflix show I watched. I know you got to run. We'll talk about next week. You should watch it. It's called Anon. A-N-O-N.
Anon, yeah, I've seen it.
Essentially, everything's public. There's no encryption. So I just watched it the other night. I thought it was a really good idea.
When I started talking to Dan years ago about this overarching privacy manifesto I've been writing, that's fundamental to it. I think it's really bad for the really long-term future of our species. But yeah, we'll talk about it another time.
Yeah. All right, man. Have a good day.
Enjoy your day, brother. Talk to you. What the fuck?
What was that?
My Google talking to me. I don't know what's going on. My wife's probably sending me a broadcast. It's time to go.
Time to go. Later.
Later, man. Have a good one. Later, everybody.